Now it is my honor to introduce to you our very own Marilyn Smith, who is our guest speaker today. And Marilyn first attended Unity Kitchener in November of 2003. She became a member in early 2004. Since that time, she has taken an active interest in Unity Kitchener, serving on several teams, organizing events, fundraisers, and serving on the board from 2008 to 2015. She is currently, again, our board president at Unity Kitchener. Marilyn is an optician, and she taught at the University of Waterloo of optometry for almost 30 years. She opted for an early retirement from optometry to concentrate on her true passion, which is teaching and speaking across Canada, and on both optometry topics and personal and team growth and development. So please help me give a warm welcome to Marilyn Smith. Welcome, Marilyn.
Thank you, Cheryl. I just as I put up my slides here, I was going to say the same thing. You took the words out of my mouth. Trish is just amazing at getting things to happen that match everything that we want to be talking about. And I really do think that should be a theme song. You can do anything. So if you're having a tough time ever, just go back to that song. I think that's well worthwhile to just sing that song out loud. That's the perfect plan. So I want to acknowledge that that Canada is going through a rough time right now. There's a bit of trauma, as you know. We have situations with some unrest in religious backgrounds. There's a little bit on that earlier slide about honoring our Islamic friends as a shooting happened in London a few weeks ago. Particularly what we're hearing about in the news right now is the issue with the residential schools. And part of the reason having a bit of that timeline on that History Month slide is just to show this isn't new. This is very old and long and what they would call systemic. So I want to acknowledge that because I don't want to put that away, but I want to lighten things up for today. This was a talk that I kind of was sort of writing a month or so ago. So before some of this news came along, I might have been differently moved if I had been with the news of the day, but just a kind of a funny thing that I came across while doing a course online, and I called it No Ants Allowed at Life's Picnic. So we'll just walk through some acronyms and some fun things that we can take to life and maybe just lighten up this last week of June and our last day with imagination as well. So I'm going to ask you a quick question, and this is just to get your thoughts moving towards things I want to talk about today. And what if I said to you, and most of us have been in this situation. There's very few people who haven't been for a job interview, but I'm going to tell you right now, you have to go for a job interview. And just for a second, I see a couple of people are already reacting like, oh, is your first thought negative? And it might be. Job interviews are difficult. They're stressful. They put us on the spot. They make us need to shine in the places we need to sort of prove to other people. So a bunch of questions. Was a first thought negative? Does that negative thought come from a subconscious mind quick response? And so many times these are learned responses because we had a childhood. Parents do the best they can with what they have, but sometimes we are taught things way back in the background that we don't even know why we have those quick responses, but there they are. We could have had trauma, as I mentioned, parenting. Some things is about teaching in life, school teaching, friend teaching, religious teachings, all those things. And at some point too, we can consider if anything comes from our past life. And you'll see with the graphic on the side, whenever we want to move further, and again, the example of this job interview descriptor is like, it often involves growth. Growth is good. And we need to grow. There's that saying, if you don't grow, you die. Same with the earth, same with ecology, same with nature, same with people, right? Ideas have to be there. But many times we are pulled back because folks that are around us don't really want to see us change. Our change sometimes is going to put a mirror upon them. And we've had lots of talks about this kind of stuff in Unity before. So I just want to mention that certainly does happen. But here's a few responses I thought of. You have to go for a job interview. No, thanks. It's one of those thoughts that comes up almost automatically, particularly if you're past your working life and in that retirement end of things, or if you're pretty happy with where you are. And that could be not a negative thing, but something you're just saying, I don't want to do that. But then comes the other stuff. I'm not qualified. They'll just judge me. What if I stumble over my words? I need more experience or education. There are better qualified candidates. What if I can't answer their questions? Does anybody that resonate with anybody? I'm suspecting one or more of those answers to be like, yeah, I could go there. That's very true. And that's not unusual. So never beat yourself up over that, because the subconscious mind is somewhat protective. And that's the protection of sometimes things that turn up, is making sure that, we think the things that might be protective of us. The courage sometimes is moving away from that and analyzing that. Sometimes we have to unlearn the things we learned from wounded people. And I don't always mean everybody in your life was wounded, but again, what they learned and passed along may not have been to the best and highest good. So if you're looking back on your history and say, I have to pay attention, I automatically think that, but I don't have to. So that just leads into, what are these ants at the life picnic that I'm talking about? So A.N.T.S is an acronym. I love acronyms. I come across this stuff and I think, oh, that's so cute, right? Automatic negative thoughts. Those are the ants at our life picnic. Now, you'll notice that A.N.T, we could have called it just ant, because that would really be the automatic negative thought. But isn't it interesting how the S on thoughts is true? Because often one negative thought leads to another negative thought, leading to yet another negative thought. And it can be busy in our mind to keep that happening, but the busyness is often quieted if we start to actually ask some questions of ourselves and wonder if they're actually true. So I want to give full credit for this. I did not invent any of this. Dr. Daniel Amen, he is a psychiatrist and a brain specialist, if you will. He's in the US and he has a really cool clinic where he deals with a lot of people who have trauma, PTSD, that kind of thing. And he wanted to find ways for people to work on their brain, including medications to help the process, but then also being able to maybe exclude the medications once the brain had helped rewire. And we know that that brain, that neuroplasticity is there. If we can get a different synapse happening, sometimes those automatic negative thoughts can be interrupted. He wrote, the brain is always, I'm in the same boat as Cheryl. I've got pictures over top for some of my pictures of you guys. The brain's always listening. Change your brain and change your life. And with his wife, Tana, he wrote The Brain Warrior's Way. I happened to stumble across him because I found something, again, Facebook or email or something. Hey, do you want to take a 30-day happiness challenge? And it was a free thing by this guy. I'd never heard of him before. And so I did a 30-day challenge. It was a 10-minute video by himself, Daniel and Tana, his wife, with him. She's an ICU nurse who's gone into this specialty clinic with him. And he has some really neat sayings. Don't believe everything you hear, even if it's in your own mind. He has another one that I thought maybe a little derogatory, but it said, you don't have to believe your every stupid thought. And I thought, and when it comes to negative things, it's like we do have to give ourselves that little bit of a quick step to say, okay, wait a minute. Do I have to do this? Let's not do this. So he was the one that came up with ants. Apparently he coined the phrase in 1993, and this was to do mostly with PTSD people through the military. He wanted them to have something to say that would stop them, but be kind of a cute saying that would come up automatically. He talks about in one of his videos how difficult it is to have one negative thought. As I mentioned before, there are often thoughts in process. And one guy he mentioned had been in the military, had some trauma. Obviously, this happens very frequently. And he said what his dilemma was, he didn't want to go for a job interview. That's why I use that example. And the negative thoughts that turned up is, I'm afraid to go to a job interview. I might not be qualified. What if they don't like me? I won't get the job. I won't have an income. I'll lose my house. My wife will leave me. And I might as well just live on the street right now. So Daniel's saying to him, like, whoa, wait a minute. How did we get to living on the street or considering end of life stuff from just a job interview. And that was the negative thoughts. So that's where he came up with ants. And that's how it came up to be part of, as I say, life's picnic. Whoops, sorry, I went backwards. So is there times that these ants can serve us for some good? Probably true. Again, our subconscious mind is protective, right? There are times when fear allows us to analyze something and say, oh, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I need to take some other steps prior to doing something. But we don't want them to overcome us and take fear on as the only thing we hear from them. So when we have the negative thoughts, it is good to say, is this just part of my fear or worry? Fear is something that we want to pay attention to, because fear will sometimes, as I said, protect us, but sometimes it'll hold us back too. It's letting us go to our growing edge and not get into that more optimal space where courage takes us to something different. And as Abraham Hicks says, worrying is using your imagination to create something that doesn't need to be created. And technically, worry is usually about the future. And don't you find when those ants about the future turn up, they're often not true. They're often things that we're worried about, but actually never do come true. So we can worry ourselves. I think it was Paul Hasselbeck last week that was talking about his mother being the queen of worrying. And even though, again, our worry could promote something for us to do that says, be aware, but it often holds us back or lets us think things that will actually never happen, which is not ever good for us anyway. So keeping our ants away. As I was looking this stuff up, I often go through Google. Thank you for Google, because it gives me every image possible. And I just put in ants and a couple other negative thoughts, whatever, and see what it is. And I found a couple really neat things about nature, which I thought I'd just share with you because it's kind of fun to have fun facts about nature. So this is a crow on the left-hand side. You can see it's covered with ants. So the ants, these is real ants, the crow sits on top of an anthill. And this is discovered by ornithologists and bird watchers and folks that kind of understand insect stuff. And they actually still don't know 100% why this happens. And there's several bird species that do this, but crows most commonly. The ants, of course, have ant thoughts. You're on top of my home. I don't like you here. So the ants come out and they crawl all over the crow. The thought is that two things. When ants are afraid, ant thoughts, they emit an histamine. And a histamine would be something that they would emit to move away from things or to keep things away from them. Because they're on the crow actually gets his histamines underneath their feathers, and it keeps other pests away from them. That's one theory. The other theory is, again, the ants emitting something because they're having negative thoughts, come onto the bird, and when the birds are molting and changing feathers through seasons, it actually relieves some of their skin irritation from the molting feathers. So really cool, somewhat symbiotic, although I don't know what the ants really get out of this part, but it's something in nature that's used for other things that we cannot always explain. The other nature thing that I thought was interesting, again, about ant thoughts in the negative way is how often we sweep away bees or hit them or yell, or the bees scare us. The bees think we're a flower, which is really sweet, right? They think that we're all swell, especially if we have food near us or if we've got nice smelling lotion on or anything like that. The bees will come around. But when bees and wasps do this too, when bees are swatted, so our ant thoughts, I'm scared of you, get away from me, you'll bite me, you'll sting me, I'll be hurting. When we swat away, creates the ant thoughts in the bees. You know what the bees do? They emit a danger warning. And danger warning calls all their friends to come and swarm. So sometimes because we see one bee swatted out of the way and it might be somewhere else, it's actually calling its friends because it's afraid because you have hurt it. So it's got its ants up now and wonders what's going on. So just a couple of nature notes. I always sort of like to have something in there that sort of says, well, that's a little cool fun fact of the day. But keep in mind when you're around bees, my dad was actually a beekeeper. He loved, that was one of his passions. And he would always say, just move your hands slowly, gently move them out of the way. And it was actually true. It was a good thing to learn because swatting at the bees just makes them upset, gives them their ant thoughts. and that's not a good thing. Daniel also talks about PB&J. We often think about PB&J being peanut butter and jelly, and again, the idea of having, ants at the life picnic. A lot of times at picnics, we bring sandwiches, and PB&J, of course, is a favorite from childhood. But what does PB&J mean to combating these ants? He talks about positive bias and journaling. The idea of positive bias is within your head. So turning things to the positive, and I've got some examples of that in the next couple of slides. Journaling, and we know this again about how our brain reacts. Journaling is almost always best to do with pen in hand. When we write, it actually forms different synapses in our brain into our subconscious. So if we're looking to change our thoughts, if we're looking to put something out to the universe, if we're looking in our spiritual way of looking to divine guidance, we're looking to getting into that, journaling can sometimes be very helpful because our mind and our hand then is related and it comes through onto the paper. Not that computers are bad, anybody can use them if they want to, but actually pen to paper is the best way to do those kind of things. Here's a few things about positive bias and what we could do about that. And I part of this talk was when I was listening to this happiness challenge, it was like, this is like unity, man. This is great. It could come from any unity speaker or any unity book writer, because we often say these things in unity regardless. And this is what takes us into that spiritual place, rather than being just in that rote, subconsciously unconscious space, right? So what if we started every morning saying today is going to be a great day? A lot of us talk about that, but how many times do we start off the day with, here we go, showtime, right? So really be conscious of waking up with that. Expressing gratitude, we know about that. Expressing appreciation, we know about that. And gratitude to yourself as well. Anytime we're involved with other people, to kindness to others, showing empathy, it takes it outside of ourselves and moves it into somebody else's space. And often we're kinder to others than sometimes we can be to ourselves. Live in the present moment. I just mentioned before that in Abraham Hicks saying there, the idea of worry is often about the future. So if you have worry, if those ants turn up, calmly sit and pay attention to your five senses. What do I see? What do I hear? What do I touch? What do I smell? What do I feel? What are those doing? And that brings you into the now moment and see what you're experiencing. Daniel talks about using fun and laughter a lot. He knows that, again, with treating PTSD and trauma, that laughter is minimal in using those situations. It's a difficult place to find fun and laughter. But when we go to those brain chemicals of happiness, this is the happiness stuff that makes us feel good, feel elated, feel relaxed, less stress, less cortisol, the things that are coming through our body to get us tense and uncomfortable and let the mind keep on running around with those ants, those negative thoughts. And interestingly enough, and again, why I was sort of attracted to what he was talking about, he was talking about engaging in a positive spiritual practice. So things like meditation, things like reflective time, things like communing with nature, touching the earth, that sort of idea. So obviously many things in the brain area touch the unity area very comfortably. He also talks about journaling, and some of this is right from his writings. I just literally copied and pasted. He said, look for micro moments by happening, and the teeniest, tiniest thing, write it down. So if things seem all not good, find the good in. The sun was shining today. I was able to have a hot shower this morning. Those tiny microcosms of moments do switch our brain up and make us feel we have more to be grateful for. Consider having a gratitude journal. Write down 3 things you're grateful for every day, more than that if you wish, and always reach out to somebody. And if you want to text them, email them, or call them and just say how much you appreciate them for something they've done or said, or just how they've been in your life. What about strengths and accomplishments, especially when we're feeling stressed over things like jobs or relationships? What are the strengths we have? Write down those 5 things you're good at. And he's not saying to do all of this. He's saying to consider all of these things as available to you to do. Really watch by eliminating the negative, turning into the positive. Don't make that untruthful. If you feel mad or sad, stressed, or out of control, as he says, take those moments and write them down. But then ask if they're actually true, or are they simply based on past fears and future worries? Because sometimes our stress or our out of control feeling really comes from what we know from our past, subconscious things that turn up, or what we think might happen in our future, and that tends to be worry. He suggests at the end of every day, write down what went well. Write it down. Think of good things before you sleep. We did a meditation a few weeks ago with Dr. Wayne Dyer. It was after Martha Creek's talk where she had a recorded talk, so she didn't have a meditation in it, and we found one by Wayne Dyer. And he talked about your subconscious, and as you're preparing to sleep, be careful what your subconscious is going to marinate in, he said, for 6 to 8 hours. And the idea is I'm saying, oh my gosh, and what am I going to do? And how is this going to be? And that's your subconscious taking on that negative stuff. Where if you say, just affirmations. I am abundant, all is well, I am enough, I did well today. Even walk over your journal of gratitude again, but enhancing that mood and put that smile on your face, because it is the smile on your face that will allow you to sleep with more comfort and also wake up feeling rested and being able to greet the day with, hooray, thank you for this great day. Rumi said, gratitude is the wine for the soul. Go on, get drunk. I kind of love that. Remember that the ants, the automatic negative thoughts, are ego-driven. Our ego really does aim to protect us, but sometimes we have to say, wait a minute, ego, go away, stop that. And the best thing you can ask yourself is this really true? Because we know ego versus spirit are the two different things. If we go deeply within, we'll find more of our spiritual self, and we'll look to the things that are the best of, for the highest good. We may not be able to see it yet. We don't have to worry about how that's going to happen. But shifting that around to know that our spiritual divine nature has a play in this. Just to read through this, the ego says it's an aim to win. It tries to control. It wants to have fears that are stifled from the past to come up because worries are better for the future. Struggle to change outer circumstances. We can't always do that. We don't always know why we want to do that or how it would happen, but it's a struggle to kind of figure that out. Doesn't have to happen. And fight for its share of limited power and resources, where spirit will go to find the best outcome for everyone. And that's where in our spiritual nature, we sometimes have to put our ego aside because it's the best for us, but also for everyone. And that means some of the hows may involve other things we're not even aware of. It's trusting in that divine order, that unrolling, that small voice that comes to us and says, just sit back. It's okay. I got this. Be open to joy and infinite possibilities right now, as it says, in your present senses, and manifest desires easy through transformation. We want to tap into that abundance available. We are more powerful than we actually ever know that we are. And that is probably one of the most important things. And I think it's Marianne Williams that says, who are you to play small? The idea is to bring your best into the world. As soon as you shine a light, it shines light for others. So even when it's your light, it can be helping that many more people. So why wouldn't we want to do that? So when the ants turn up, go back to spirit. Ask, is this really true? Or is it something I'm making up, if you wish, with your imagination? All of our imagination is available to us, but we want to use it for the spirit-driven, not the ego-driven parts of things. A couple of unity teachings that are there that let us know about the ants, kind of eliminate them if we can, or at least recognize them and let them move through, and enjoy our P.B J, our positive bias and journaling. Charles Fillmore said, our words are also seeds, and when dropped into the invisible spiritual substance, they grow and bring forth after their kind. That's a sweet saying to just have posted somewhere. Just remembering our thoughts create our words, and there are the seeds, and it moves on from there. Charles also said the first thing to do in making a demonstration of prosperity in the home is to discard all negative thoughts and words. So isn't it interesting how many of these speakers, these teachers, these learned people come to us with very similar thoughts and patterns that we can use in our everyday life. And just to take us from our picnic, our life picnic, let's just get rid of the ants. I found something else that said stomp on the ants, and stomp was an acronym again. It's like, that's kind of harsh. We're not really big on stomping on things in Unity. So to enjoy the PB&J, let's take the saying here that says step over the ants. Let's step over the ants and find better ways. Let's put the worms back in the grass. Let's rescue the baby caterpillars. Release the spiders back into your garden and open the windows for the bees to fly home. They are all little souls that deserve a life too. And I thank you for that. And now we'll go into a few moments of meditation.
I am so grateful for this life I have to live. Oh, and I am so grateful for all I have to give. For I live in a world of abundance, in a true never-ending source from above. Yes, I live in a world of abundance, with a life overflowing and a heart full of love. With a life overflowing and a heart full of love.
And we do. We live in a world of abundance. And I am grateful. Sometimes it's said that sighing is a sign of stress, but sighing can also be a sign of release. So I invite you to just take a big breath. Sigh it out. Just sigh it out. Let it be released. Just take a moment. Just scan your mind. Are there any of those ants, those automatic negative thoughts running over your picnic blanket? Also, as you release those, if there are any, release anything that is not serving you in this right here and now moment. Take a deep cleansing breath. Again, sigh it out and release. Close your eyes if that's comfortable. Relax your neck, relax your shoulders. Scan your body for any place that's holding tension. That's stress, and we don't want stress. I'll ask you to walk through your mind for a moment. Walk through your mind and imagine a place that you love. Could be a setting in another country. Could be a cottage or a lake or a beach. Could be a snow chalet that you love watching the mountains and seeing the snowfall. Whatever makes you happy. Whatever place you can see in your mind that says, oh, I love this place. It would make you smile. And it would make you want to have a life picnic there. Visualize yourself. Embrace it with your whole body and all your senses. Feel your body engage and enjoy those endorphins. Those are our happiness feelings. And those are created when we feel good. Maybe just allow a smile to come to your face as you think about this beautiful place and bask in the good thoughts that this place brings to you. The body then feels oxytocin. And those are the stress relievers that allow us to fully relax. Remember, this is your life picnic. Gently ask the ants to just simply pass by. Listen to the small, still voice of your spirit that says, live fully. Embrace all that is in nature. Enjoy with gratitude. And be amazed with the world, with that wonderment of a childlike mind. If you can stay in your place of your picnic for a few more moments, just take a couple moments in the silence and dwell in this space. Let your brain and body feel good in the silence. As we gently return to this here and now moment, listen to the words of this next sweet song and take them to your heart. As we close our month of imagination, think of the imagination in the video of this song and how it was done to make us think that puppets are real, because really they're talking about our true feelings. It's in every one of us to be free. Free come from all concerns, all ants that intrude on the good of our life picnic. Namaste.